Welcome to the Semantic Modeling and Publishing Ontologies and Vocabularies tutorial. We have a packed session. No, I think we have plenty of time today to discuss the matter and the topics. And I would like to take the opportunity to quickly introduce you to the main speaker today, to Samane. And my name is Kai Preuss. I am the Sales and Solutions Director at MetaFacts, the company which provides the tool, which will be under discussion during this tutorial today. And I keep it very brief and short because I want you to have the full benefit of listening to Samane today. I just wanted to give you a brief overview about who we are and what we do, just with 2 words. And then there's some logistical things about the tutorial that we also would like to address. And therefore, let's say, the room, please, if you have any questions, just fire them away. For the online audience, please, if there's any questions, there's a Slack channel. When I'm not they're not standing here in front, I will sit on the Slack channel and answer questions if you want. There is, but just for the logistics first, there is some material that we have prepared. It's an online instance of MetaFactory that you can try out, which will run for 2 weeks after today, which will still be online for 2 weeks after the session. And in order to get the link and the username and password for the tutorial for the people online as well as remotely, either you email me a quick request and I ping you over the link and the username and password for the instances. So please use kp@metafacts.com. Ideally, or ping it in the Slack channel. The tutorial has its own Slack channel. If you don't know how to get it, just let me know. I can also help you with that. But please send me an email so you get the link and you can follow the very hands-on part of the tutorial, which is very important, I think, to get this. That's, I think, from the logistics. I think I said I give you a quick introduction on what MetaFacts itself. MetaFacts is a German-based company. We were founded in 2014. We are a team of, I would say, internationally spread knowledge graph geeks spread across the globe. Samane is one of those knowledge graph geeks, I think, from our team. And we are an independent software vendor, and we have one product, and that product is called MetaFactory. We call it it's a knowledge democratization platform. And what we do together with our customers, or together also with a lot of universities and students so far, we have our customers and also other users from academia using MetaFactory to use it for, on one hand side, doing semantic modeling, on the other hand side, creating full stack semantic applications with it. So usually how we get together with, let's say, customers is that there's a use case, people have an idea in mind, problems that they want to solve. They know they want to use semantic technologies for that. And MetaFactory is a great product to enable and, let's say, speed up the journey from an idea to a semantic application in really, let's say, 2 to 4 weeks time frame. And so that's the way how our projects and how our consultants also work usually in projects. If there are questions later on architecture, what MetaFactory is, we have some slides in the back. Could be useful, let's say, also to get to dive in a little bit, so to get an understanding what it could be used for. Maybe I do that actually now before we start with the tutorial, because otherwise we'll a little bit, let's say, hook you off from the content. So the basics, there are some basic concepts you should understand. MetaFactory is a Docker-based platform. It sits on top of a Sparkle 1.1 compiled RDF-based database, and it allows to do a couple of functionalities. On one hand side, left hand side, you see knowledge graph management. What we mean by that is creating ontologies, creating vocabularies, link these things together, and maybe also create data sets around that. The most basic use case you can do with MetaFactory is graph exploration. That's usually that's not a big deal today, but it's a standard functionality in MetaFactory. And the third and maybe one of the second most important functionality in MetaFactory is that we provide semantic components where you can compose end user applications using our semantic components. What our semantic components is. Samane will introduce you today, but think about it. You have a table component that can directly interact using Sparkle with the underlying graph database and creates, and can also directly interact with the graph database. So MetaFactory itself, or let's say what kind of graph databases do we support? Here is the who's who, I think, from the semantic RDF graph database world. I don't want to call out specific companies here, but in the wild, with all of our they say existing customers, we meet one or the other graph database vendor here. So that's a prerequisite to use MetaFactory. In this example, in the tutorial, for example, is hosted using OntoText GraphDB. Yeah. MetaFactory itself is built on open standards. That's also very important because the artifacts that you will create, and you will see that later on during the tutorial, are based on W3C standards. If you model an ontology, it's a combination of OWL and SHACL. If you're modeling or creating a vocabulary, it's based on scores. Of course, the query language is Sparkle. So everything that you create along the way, also if it being instance data later on, that's available. You can use it also outside of MetaFactory and are not tied to use MetaFactory. So there's no vendor login for you as a customer. Good. There's also more advanced stuff I think we won't touch today, but MetaFactory has a data access infrastructure layer. As I said, it sits on top of a Sparkle database, but you can also use our data federation mechanisms, let's say, to do transparent Sparkle federation across multiple Sparkle databases. You can also use another federation service to integrate relational data, REST APIs or machine learning services, for example. And also we have a middleware service piece where you can quickly create a query at REST API that you can construct in minutes by publishing specific Sparkle queries to answer specific questions in the knowledge graph. So that should be just a little bit foundational setting, let's say, to understand where the tutorial later on starts. Are there any questions from the room so far? Maybe just a quick poll. Who of you have heard about MetaFacts or MetaFactory already? Who has used it already? Okay, 0. That's great because you're here. So that will change after the tutorial, I would say. If there's any questions, should be interactive. Ask anytime. Stop us at any time if you want. If you have any questions, Samane will do follow up with the content and the slides later on, or if there's any slides, not sure. And if there's any questions, just file them to the Slack channel. And with that, I think I would give it over to Samane.
Okay, thank you, Kai, for the introduction. I will move to, so the plan is I will start with the example and hands-on directly. I wouldn't waste time on presenting everything and then you can try it. So I will jump into the instance. So feel free just to send email to Kai now and you can start it at the same time. So to also update people online, we are trying to access the instance and also we have a bit of internet problem here in the room, but we are, so after you receive the link from Kai, you can just access it and then add your username and password and log in. But maybe I can start with a bit of introduction until you receive your instances. So what today we're going to focus is mainly ontology, data modeling and ontology development, vocabulary creation, linking these two with in MetaFactory together, and also basically creating an instance of the elements of the ontology in MetaFactory, data cataloging, and just a brief grasp of how we are building application on top of the knowledge graph that you already created and managing in the MetaFactory. For application building, we're not going to go too much into diving into the deep, but for ontology, we will mainly focus on ontology modeling and vocabulary creation and management and linking between them. Yeah, if you have any question at any point, just stop me, interrupt me, ask it. What we have in mind is today we're gonna start with some examples. I go step by step. I will show how it is in our ontology editor, for example, and then try to be a bit slow so you can also do it yourself on the instance. And yeah, I think that would be more helpful. So just starting from the toolbar of MetaFactory, this is very basic and standard one, landing page. Of course, anything can be customized on MetaFactory. This page is one of the application page that we have created, so to say. On the toolbar, the standard MetaFactory has these items. Of course, they can be restricted based on the user if they don't have permission to, for instance, seeing SPARQL, so they wouldn't have this SPARQL editor, so to say. And then we have the assets that shows all the assets, including the named graphs, vocabularies, ontologies, data sets, query templates that you may have saved through the SPARQL, and diagrams. And just to give you some idea what is diagrams, diagrams are basically the view of your ontology. So you can have different ontologies, and for each of these ontologies, you can create different diagrams. Let's say you have a collaboration on a specific ontology. A few people are working at the same time on that. They want to always have the same first view, graphical view of that ontology for themselves, customized one. So they can have different ones. In a few seconds, we will reach that point to explain how to create different diagrams. And then here you have the data import and export. You can import, let's say you have RDF triples, you already have some data in RDF, you want to upload them, you can do this. Of course, you can also upload your ontologies, your vocabularies through this as well. But as I will show you soon, ontologies and vocabularies can be uploaded from each of these separate catalogs as well. Then we have the administration page, which includes a lot of information and possibilities for customization and control on your platform. One of the simple ones that might be interesting is a templates and application page. Again, we are not going to go too deep into it, but if you create any template or application page specific, you will see them here. Then you always have access to all the documentation of MetaFactory, which is the basically a main target for specifically when you're starting as a new user. To learn more about it, you can search anything here and you can just go to the documentation, have the explanation. Let's say, as you see, when I can find the ontology visualization and editing page, I have all the information here, examples, how it's going to look like, how we can even create, what is the canvas, what are the elements. So all the explanation actually that we are going to go through it, and you also have it in the instance that you will receive. You will also find in our documentation, and this is just an example for each element and components in MetaFactory. You can find documentation here. And then, of course, this is the information about your the user. And in fact, here we can check the permission. So we have roles and permission definitely in MetaFactory. You can define different roles, different permission. We have categories of predefined role fragments, or you can have your own groups of roles and definition of what can be the permission of each of these roles can be defined. And here, for example, I can just check for specific permission for this user that I am. There is also one thing here, include yourself in editorial workflows that you see here. I will explain to you in a second what it is about, but this is mainly about one of the recent cool feature that we have in Metafactory about ontology, that the ontology can go through, as many of you are working with ontology, you know that it can go through a pipeline, different people can contribute and create it. There can be specific role that needs to approve a specific ontology. They can return it for, send it back to the group that are developing on it and say that no, it should be still developed, it requires edit, and then again having approval, review, and approval. So this pipeline has recently been integrated in Metafactory, and this is actually one of the things that if I want to be part of the process of editorial of any specific ontology, I can add myself. I'm already added. But yeah, I can add myself here. So maybe I'll start gradually explaining about the ontologies. And if you already have your instance in front of you, you can start doing some of the examples with me. But again, don't worry. In the first page, as soon as you receive your instance, even later, you have this landing page. And here you see all these different sections that we are going to go through today. If you open each of them, you will see demo videos and exercises. So you can simply see a whole tutorial video of each of these sections here. They are pre-recorded. And at any time during the time that you have access to your instance, you can watch the videos, you can do the exercises. And yeah, so don't worry if you cannot follow today, you can just listen today as well. Yeah. So let's start with the ontologies.
Yeah, I also have problems with my internet right now, so I'll probably do the tutorial at home sometime. How long will be able to tell where the tutorial?
Yeah, it's available for 2 weeks. Maybe you can just repeat again.
Exactly. So there was a question about how long the audience can have access to their instances. For people online as well, it would be accessible for 2 weeks. So you don't need to be worried if you cannot follow today. Yeah.
Maybe another question. Everyone has language instance. Once more. I think you need it.
Because all the requests. Yeah, we got anything right now then.
Also for people online, I guess they can also access the Slack channel if they have any questions. Kai would kindly check it. Yeah. Okay, then shall we start? Good. So going from here, from assets to ontology, this is the page that we're gonna see. This is our ontology catalog. As you see at the moment, I have 2 ontology in my instance uploaded. The name of the ontology is here. I can see the IRI of the ontology. I can copy the IRI. I have some metadata about this ontology, 9 classes, 2 attributes, 31 relation, when it was created, when last modified. I have all of these information. I see here that this ontology is published. So published means it's the end of the workflow of ontology. Of course, it can be from this 3 dots, you have more options. You can set even this ontology that is already published, set back to development if required. Or I can basically create a new version of this ontology if needed. We can follow up later a bit. I don't want to go into all the details now, but just I want to give you an overview of how it looks like. For start, we are going with these two example core organization ontology, which is developed by W3C, and a friend of a friend, a kind of a famous ontology that you may know. Yeah, at the top also, we can see that we have some filters. If let's say I have some published ontologies in development, in review, ready to be published, all of them were listed here. I can filter them. Let's say I just want to see in development ontology. At the moment, I don't have any. Let's say I want a published one, right? Let me put as an example this ontology. Just remove this. Sorry. Okay. Let's say that I want to set this ontology core organization, set back to development. Let's do it. Now, if I check, I have one in development ontology, one published one. So if I filter this one, I will only see this one. If I filter for published one, I can only see the published ontology. And then also I can, if I have more users that have been working on the same ontology or different ontology, I can filter based on that. I want to see all the ontologies that are have been updated last by specific user. Yeah, and on the right side, we can import new ontologies. We can import from local files, we can import from Git, or we can create our own ontology. Before creating an ontology, I would suggest let's go check one of the existing one to see how it looks like, the ontology editor. When we go for the first time without having any diagram, so to say, or any view of the ontology, the first thing we see is asking about if we want to start with an empty diagram or we want to see the whole class tree. Let's say I want to start with my own diagram. I want to create it. I will start with empty. And then this is the catalog that I'm seeing here. Sorry, this is the canvas that I'm seeing. Trying to a bit manage my zoom as well here. Good. So this is the canvas, empty canvas, and I see what classes I do have in my core organization ontology. As you see here, I can see all the list of the ontology, so I can choose which ontology. Even from here, I can choose which ontology to see, basically, the classes, attributes, relation. Let's go back to this ontology. So I see the classes here, the list of the classes. I can expand to see the superclass and subclasses. I can see all the attributes of this ontology here. Again, seeing the subproperties as well, and the relations. Then let's start with one example here, let's say. And we also see all of these basically classes, where they are coming from. Change event here, it is coming from core organization ontology. While here I'm seeing that agent is from FOF ontology, organization FOF. There is another class organization coming from core organization ontology. And then as you see, even clicking on each of these, on the right-hand side, I have a quick overview of all this information of this class. So we call it in MetaFactory this panel, basically knowledge panel, because it gives you a quick overview of all the metadata, and it can be customized as well. So you can have your customized information that you want to show without redirecting to this specific class, for instance.
Plus, also give preference to a lot of the organization subsets, because now you can choose for both of them.
Yeah.
Even though they can mean something different.
Yeah. So at the moment, you mean not to see both of them, so to say, right?
One is the definition, other is the description, or one is of a very trustworthy company, or authorization. And the other one is local something, so you can decide which one you need.
You mean in terms of visualization, or which one I want to choose? Okay.
Descriptions, definitions.
Um,
Because now you can choose.
I cannot. Yeah.
Can get a little bit ambiguous.
Yeah, but so right. So this question is more about how I want to model, which organization I want to choose. Okay. I think this is really depending on the ontology engineer, which one they want to choose. But how we can help it via MetaFactory is that we can provide specific metadata and description. So they don't have to go through the full ontology and organization ontology and read everything. What actually this knowledge panel, for example, can give you, if you have any additional metadata, let's say priority or authorization, if you have these kind of values, you can customize your knowledge panel in a way that those are shown to the user. So just by clicking here without redirecting, you can choose, oh, this is authorized or this is not. So you can add it as a kind of description to that ontology. And then what you can also see here at the moment in the knowledge panel is that attributes and relationships can also be shown here. And if we go here, for instance, yeah, I think that's a good overview. Let's start with editing. So at the moment, I'm just seeing everything, right? But I cannot edit anything. So what I can do is click this switch to edit mode, and now I can start with editing. So far, I was just viewing everything, right? And then I can bring any class that I want. Here I can start with editing, in fact. So if once I'm in the edit mode, as you see, now suddenly I see two arrows here. If I exit, I wouldn't see them, as you see. I'm clicking on this class, I don't see anything, right? As soon as I switch to edit mode, now these two arrows are appearing on my class. The upper arrow is basically for defining the subclass. So here I can say, if I drag my agent as well. Oh yeah, because I actually switched to in development. So yeah, exactly. What we can do is let's create our ontology. Let's go back to an ontology. Let's start with one new ontology, so to say. So if you push, again, you can import ontology, or you can just create one new. Let's say that I want to create project ontology, right?
Examples.
So as you see, there is a suggested IRI. Of course, it is, as you know, each instance and each element in ontology should have an IRI. It should be an identifier, so to say, right? So there is a prefix suggestion by IRI. By default, it is this. This can also be customized. That's what should be the prefix by default. But if you don't want to add this, you can basically create your own IRI here as well. So let's go with the suggestion one. And also you can see the options for saving to Git. You can have your ontologies saved to Git as well, not just importing from Git, but also you can have a kind of backup of your ontology always on Git. And then you can even choose which branch to be saved. So let's create this project ontology. Now I'm redirected to project ontology. This is in development as soon as you create it. So you should be able to see the edit mode at the moment. So let's create, in fact, a new class. Let's start with a new class. So I want to create a company class, so to say. And as soon as I create this class, you see that I can define what is the subclass of it, this arrow. Let's say I want to also bring the organization from another ontology, in fact, and I want to say that this class that I just created is a subclass of class organization in another class. So here, basically, Metafactory, you can use different classes, different ontologies when you're creating your own ontology. What you have to do, let me save it now. What you have to do is importing ontology. So to make sure that ontology is not, okay, I want to save as well. To make sure that you wouldn't be overloading all the classes and attributes and relation from different ontology, and you want to keep your integrity of ontology, by default, not all the ontologies will be imported. You can choose which ontology to import, basically. So I want to choose FOF, and as you see, since you may see also organization ontology at the moment in this tab if you open it. In my dropdown, I cannot see it because I have put it in the development mode. So I have to publish it first to be able to see this important one. Let's import this one. And then on the other hand, I also want to put back my core organization to published. So what I can do is start review request. I have to define who should be the reviewer of my ontology. I assign myself for now because there is no other user in this platform at the moment. And then as a reviewer now, I can publish this. Now, if I reload, and if I check for import ontology, now I see all the published ontology, which is also core organization. I will now also import that. Okay. Let me go back to my project ontology. I have the company. Now I want to add the organization class from FOF ontology. Where was it? Here. And I want to say my, so as you see, I have also the list of attributes of this class here. What I can, if I don't want to see all the attribute lists here in the canvas, I can also deactivate this. So I want to say that company is now subclass of organization. Easily I can do it with this arrow on top, the subclass, and then I'm gonna save it to ontology. You don't have to always save immediately every element that you're adding, but I'm just doing it in case I don't forget. And what other? I want to also bring the person from agent, again from FOF. Now I want to say that's basically that person is working on a specific project. I don't have any class. I can search for it. I can choose all ontology and see if I have any class of project defined. Oh, I do have it in FOF, so I don't need to create a new class. So I bring it in because I want to say project person is basically involved in project, right? What I can now do is using the relation. I want to define a relation. I can use this arrow below this time, not the above one, not on the top, but under the class, and just dragging it to the range class, so to say, I can define it. And I want to say basically what I can do is select from the existing relations or create a new relation. First, I'm gonna check if the relation that I'm looking for exists in any of the ontologies. Well, I cannot find it. Then I'm gonna create my own relation. And what else I want to create? I want to also have the skill class. If I search again here, I wouldn't find it. So I'm gonna create my own skill class. Here I put it. And I want to define that person has skills, so to say. Again, I click on this class, I use this this arrow and connect it to the range or the target class, and I say has skill. Right?
Is the inserted relation also the
inferior?
Yeah, the symmetric. A person is member of organization as members or as persons. So you refers to inverted symmetric relation.
No. So this is based on I'm precisely defining that the domain or the source of this relation to be person, and the target or the range of this relation to be skill. So it's really the direction matters here, yeah. And automatically it wouldn't create. So if I want, I can create. Actually, I can create from skills to person. Yeah. Also for project now, let's say that so this was relation, how to create between and subclasses. Now let's say that I want to also create attributes for one of my classes. Let's see how it works here. So here, if I click on each of these classes, you see in the knowledge panel, I see information, which are the metadata, and IRI, which ontology it belongs to, the description of this. And then I have the attributes tab, where I can add the attributes that are, the domain of these attributes are this class specifically. I'm gonna add new attribute. So I can, again, similar to relation, I can select from the existing one, or I can create a new one. So let's say I want to, for the project, I want to define the start date of the project. I'm gonna check if there is start date. I don't see any, so I'm gonna create my own attribute, start date. Right?
So that's if you create a new label but you didn't check it all and it's just not complain, or we would just override?
No, I can override. So the question for the people online. So if there already exists in a start date, I can create it still. So start date is coming for, let's say the start dates exist in other ontologies and I want to create it in this ontology, still I can do it. And here you have actually the advanced settings, which you can also manipulate the IRI. So if, let's say there is one project and in this specific ontology it exists, then IRI will be automatically changed, or you have to change it. So you can just define it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you can also do that. And here you can also create the data type. You can say that this is based on the XSD, basically. What should be the type? It should be string, it should be Boolean. So here I can say that it should be date, in fact. Minimum and maximum is about the cardinality, but we can just get back to it in a bit after when we want to create the instance. I don't want to overload everything right now. So let's say that I'm creating the start date. I can add description actually, meaning that what is this attribute about, and some description, which in fact Metafactory by default takes it at some point when you are creating application. You can just directly say that read the description, so it is also possible. But for now I'm not creating, I'm just confirming this one, start date. And now if I go for show attribute, you see that this is created now for project. Let's say I want to also create the end date. And that should also be date, and I confirm it. And I want to also see this one as the default diagram of mine. So default diagram is the diagram that no matter who is the user, but as soon as they are clicking to access that ontology, they will see that diagram by default. And diagrams can be saved from here, this entrance basically. But as you see, I can create new diagrams as well. So let's say I want for a specific view, for a specific demo, for specific target, I want to create a new diagrams, and see, you can save it. Or I just want to save this one to be the default diagram that anyone sees as they enter the ontology. I can always save it to the diagram via this button. Okay. So any questions so far?
Yeah, maybe a question about the reporting. So, select classes from ontology. There will be reported here. What kind of relationships does it bring?
So the question is that when we are importing specific class, what relation and attributes are will be brought by default. So basically here we can define that the attributes are, all of the attributes will be transferred by default. So let's say that I brought organization from FOV. If organization have some default attribute, they will be all brought here. At the moment they don't have it. But I can also add more attributes to this class in this ontology. It means that the attributes that I'm creating, they wouldn't be stored in in FOV ontology, only in this one for this class. But all the attributes will be brought, but not a relation necessarily. Yeah. Everything will be inherited, but whatever I'm adding here, so to say, it would be added and saved in this ontology. And on the other hand, as you see, it's actually a good point. Thanks for mentioning. We see this lock here for this classes because I've imported this. I cannot edit this class itself via this ontology, because this belongs, we want to keep the provenance and data governance. So this belongs to another ontology. If I want to edit it, I have to go to a FOV ontology and edit it from there. The same for this, but company and skills has been created here, so I can edit them. Right. Any other questions? Okay, then maybe let me see. I don't want any other class or property at the moment, so I'm gonna go and I exit the edit mode. I go back to my ontology catalog, and let's say I want to put it for publishing, for review process. Again, as I showed it, I can start a review request, and I have to define who needs to be the reviewer. And from the list of the reviewer, just because now in this instance I have only one user, I use this one. But normally this is how it works, that some other people in the group should review basically the ontology. I put it for review. Now it shows me that you have one version to review. I'm basically seeing this because I'm the reviewer of this ontology. So I can, so you can also here see it. This is pending. You can even, now as a reviewer, I can set it in development, or I can set it ready to be published. And then I can publish it as a reviewer. I can also have commit message and publish it. Now, if you check, you can see that I have the version number here. I have this green icon that shows it is published. Now that's also, I forgot to also show you the RDF turtle editor, specifically for people who are more experienced with ontology. It would be very helpful and handy for them. They can just check this. Let's say the start date and end date that we created, it was for class project that was coming from FOV, but we created these two attributes in project ontology. So if I now go to the RDF turtle editor that shows the RDF of the ontology, RDF values of the ontology, I have to be able to see those attributes that I created. And I see them. I see this shackle properties, start and end. But if I go to the FOV, in fact, I shouldn't be able to see it because those attributes are not created. I cannot find them here. And yeah, just also this is important information to know that Meta Factory uses a combination, as Kai also mentioned, a combination of OWL and shackle. Of course, this is because of the, so to say, you want to add constraints to your data, you want to have the close world assumption, and that's why you have to also have shackle. That's why we have combination of OWL and shackle. Yeah, I think these are the basic and good level for the ontology. We can move to vocabulary creation if you don't have, yes.
Yes, a small question. So, for instance, for the attribute, you said string. It's range. And is it also translated then to shackle?
Yeah, this is XSD. We can also see it, in fact, here. Yes, it is XSD date.
Yeah.
Yes. So we see that here we're saying that this is an OWL ontology, and also for classes we see that it says company is an OWL class. And then for properties we are using shackle property and defining them, and data type for the shackle data type. Yeah.
It's then shackle or both RDFS range.
So we are not creating RDFS here anymore. But if you want to export it to RDFS, we have actually the equivalences. Right. So we have a converter, you can just run it, and then your shackles will be converted to RDFS, for example. Okay, then let's see what do we have in vocabulary catalogs. So going from assets again to vocabularies, we can see a catalog for vocabularies. Again, we have similar design, meaning we can import from local files, we can import from Git, or we can create new vocabulary ourselves. And then here I have a list of vocabularies that are already uploaded here, ESCO skill groups and data theme. We can go and check what is the structure of vocabulary, let's say. So I see here on the left hand, I see all the terms. You can also define collection. At the moment, I don't have collection here. But also, something that I also missed for ontology. This info and metadata tab is also important. Basically, you have, if you go for the edit, you can add all the metadata for each vocabulary that you're creating. The same for the ontology. You can add the description, created, creator, contributor, publisher, all of these can be there. If we go to the ontology, for instance, at the moment, we can see for the new ontology that we created, we have all these values. We see all the list of imported ontology to ontology. We see the contributor, which is my user. And by default, as soon as you're creating an ontology, this metadata will be created. Creator will be assigned to the user that created. Created will basically capture the date and the time of creation. The version info namespace, meaning the elements that are created in this ontology will have this namespace. Labels, title, and again, if it, for instance, in case of this, you can see more values like element namespace. So these are the similar differences between vocabularies and ontology, but at the end, they both have this metadata. I cancel edit because I don't want to edit. So this is for this info and metadata tab, and of course Git versioning. You can save to Git again, not just importing from Git, but you can also save everything that you created to have a backup on Git. So going back to elements, let's say I want to create, so these are my classes, right? So I see, if I click on one of them, I see the identifier, prefer label with in different languages even. As you see here, I can see the hierarchy. I see here it says this term doesn't have any broader terms. So again, just as a reminder that our control vocabularies are based on SCOs. So we are using broader and narrower terms, so to say. So here it says that there is no broader term, and also there is no relation defined, or there is no collection defined. Now, let's just, as an example, let's create one term. So if I click on create top level term, I see this form. Let's call it privacy. Right? How it looks like now. So I see it as a broader term, right? Let's say now for this privacy, for this term, I want to create a narrower term. What I can do is using this 3 dots here, I can create narrower term, say data privacy. Okay, now I see it here. So I have broader term privacy and data privacy. So let's say now I want to change the hierarchy. I have created my terms, and then I notice, I can actually put this term as the narrower term of another term, existing term. Then I can go to this 3 dots, as you see, and there is edit hierarchy that I can add here. And let's say I can choose which broader term I want it to be. In fact, I want it to be the science and technology. let's say. If I close it now, I'll save it. What I see is that now my term has been, my broader term privacy has been moved to be a narrower term of this top level term, so to say. And of course, all the narrower term below it has been transformed as well. Also, we can have, we can edit other relations here as well for this privacy, so to say. Let's say that this is digital. Let's say this privacy is related to some, I don't know, some other terms in this one, in the same control vocabulary. So we are in the data theme control vocabulary, right? And also let's say that in another vocabularies that I have, skills, also another term there is related to this privacy. Then I'm gonna choose it from the other vocabulary, and I would search for, let's say, digital maybe digital data privacy, digital data processing. Yeah. So I choose it from transversal skill group vocabulary. So for this privacy term, now I created two related vocabularies as well. So this is mainly very helpful if you have different control vocabularies, if you are working between groups or in the same group, but between different control vocabularies. So you can just define them, what term is related to what terms in different vocabularies. So now if I check privacy, I can see the hierarchy for it. It says that has one broader term, which is science and technology. It has two related terms, science and technology in one vocabulary, digital data in the other one. Still, I haven't created a collection. And yeah, this is it. Now let's say we want to create a new vocabulary. Let's create a new one. We can again go with any data. Again, similar to ontology, I can define what should be the namespace, what should be the prefix, how to create IRI, or I can go with the default one, which in this case is the vocabulary metafacts one. And then I create it. And I can here again create everything, yeah, as before. Now let's say that I have my control vocabularies. What are this relation between these control vocabularies and the ontology that I created? Let's say I have the skill vocabulary, I have data team, but I want to say that one of the specific classes in my specific ontology should only have values from specific control vocabulary. So I go to my ontology again. So I see that, let's say I want to edit project ontology. I want to define that one of the classes in this ontology should have the values of certain control vocabulary. First of all, this is published ontology. I cannot edit it unless I put it back for development. So I will go to more here, 3 dots, more, and the set in development. Now it is editable. If I check it here, it says it is in development. Actually, you can also create a new version, of course, but Not always we want to have new version of the ontology. I go back to the ontology and say, I have the skill class here, and I want to define that. So I move to edit mode and say that I want to define to have a vocabulary restriction, right? I add the value and I want to restrict it to one of the vocabularies that I have. It was by restrict by collection, or restrict by term, or restrict by vocabulary. Let's say I want to restrict it by vocabulary in this time. So I have skill transversal groups. I'm going to select this one and confirm it. And I save it. So now maybe it's a good time to start with instantiation. How does it reflect when we want to create an instance of this class or this ontology? First of all, let me exit this edit mode. So I want to see all the instances of this class. Just an example, right? So when I'm clicking on the class, on the right side, I see the class information and I see this link says manage instances. If I go back to this, redirect it to this manage instance, I see all the instances created of this class specifically. I see Metafacts, I see Trinity College Dublin. I can redirect to them, or I can edit them. Right, I can see here. Now, let's say I want to create a new instance. So what Metafactory is proposing for creating instance is two ways. Either you can create it via some forms, like this. You can push this new instance. It will show all the fields that are related to all the attributes of this class. Or you can have, you can customize a visual instance authoring, meaning you can visually create an instance of these classes. Like as we see in the ontology editor, like here, as we have a canvas and we can just play around and manage our ontology, we can set up similar page, so that we can create basically the instances of the class by drag and dropping, saying that I want this class or this. But by default, the creation is via this form, so to say. I can just create a new organization, so to say, and save it here. Now, what happens when I have controlled? Sorry, I got a bit lost. Okay. Now, what happens is that when I have added vocabulary restriction for this class, if I go to the instance management, I have this drop down that I can only select from the terms of that vocabulary. Actually, I don't remember what were the. Let me search for the terms. If I go here, let's say I want application of knowledge. Because I haven't chosen the terms, so to say. I have chosen only the vocabularies. So I'm gonna edit it, this one, restrict by terms, and then I would say only the terms that are in this vocabulary, right? Well, oh. Right. Now I say that, redirecting to instance creation. And then I can see social interaction, except address. Yeah. Okay, let's go for another example. And this is better. If I go for the project, because I just created one privacy, one term that I already can remember. So I will go for the project. I will go to Fiscal is also working. And then I will go to data theme and to science and privacy. Right. And then if I go to the scale. No.
It's good.
It's a good example. I don't know why I cannot see actually the instance of this focus. I think I chose. Yeah, I think I saved it, but I think I chose a bad example. Yeah. Because there is no, I think maybe organization can be better. Because we already have an instance. Yeah, I think I will go for another example. Maybe let's first take a break and then we can get back to it after a break. But so far, from control vocabulary, instance creation, and ontology. Is there any questions so far?
Yeah, the difference you restrict by vocabulary. There are.
So here, if we go to the vocabularies, right? We see that maybe the skill one. We can also create collections, right, from this course. So if I have collection, it goes beyond the broader and narrower. Basically, collecting specific terms fall into this collection. And then I can, if I have different collection, I can choose here they should be restricted by terms that are falling in this specific collection. Or no, I just want to do it by the terms or vocabularies. Basically, that's the difference. So here we have a navigation menu that we can choose any relation that we want to expand it. For example, see what is the broader term of this one, or any other relation that let's say we want to expand all of this. So this is what we have in our graph visualization. Also, always we have by default, these are default, and of course they can be customized. We always have this button that shows, and this is for information, that always opens for us the knowledge panel, so to say. And here, this data privacy, we see that which data set it belongs to. We created this term data privacy in data theme vocabulary, and here we can see this information here. Yeah, this is about data cataloging, more or less. Is there any question about ontology, vocabulary, data cataloging, instantiation? If not, we can move to application. And we didn't plan for this actually, but I can give you a bit of intro, improvising a bit, and we can see how it is. Okay, then I would suggest we can start with some instances that we already have and talk about the application templating from there. Let's go to our ontology. We can go to, I want to go to instances of the organization. So I go here from manage instances, and I see that I already have 2 instances. So these 2 instances are of type class organization. Let's say that I want to have a specific page for each of these organization, for each instances of the organization. That wherever I click on one of these, I want to see that page. So if I go now to MetaFacts, I see the IRI, I see the type, and if I go to that IRI, I see this page. So this is not a default page. This is a customized page. I see the map that shows the location of MetaFacts. I see the projects that are relating to this to this company or this organization, and then I can even explore in the. I have a graph visualization of the projects that are related to this organization, and I can explore there. Sorry. So all of these are called, so to say, templating. What I have done is that I've created a template page for a specific class. So any instances of that class will have the same template. This is a concept that exists in MetaFactory. So instead of, let's say you want to have you want to have a specific template or customization for all the instances of a specific class. What you can do is just create. MetaFactory gives you this opportunity to create one customization for that class, and all the instances automatically inherit that customization. And still, you can have exception. You can say all the organization except this organization. So let's see how we can do it, basically. So if I am redirected to any instance, then I can go to edit page. And in this edit page, I see on the right hand side, I see the templates that are including this template, and then I'm seeing applicable templates. In applicable templates, I'm seeing the template of organization, to what class this instance belongs to. Let's say I have an instance that belongs to both organization, MetaFacts, and company. Then I will see both templates here. And then knowledge panel, which we can discuss it a bit later. So if I want to customize anything for organization, I can go to that. And here I see that this is the customization I have for the organization. And just FYI, if I go to other instance of organization, which is this Trinity College Dublin, I see exactly the same thing, right? So there are different components defined in MetaFactory that allow us to create this templates and application page, so to say. before going to the components, there is one other thing that I think it's important to mention, is the difference between template and application page in MetaFactory. When we're talking about a template, it means that we are creating a page for a class, for example, and then that applies that template or that basically customization applies to all the instances of that class. But when I want to create for a specific instance, I create an application page. For example, if I go to this landing page of ours, this is an application page. It doesn't belong to a specific instance of a class or any element in the ontology, but it is rather an application page that I link different things. I can redirect to different pages from here. And let's say that I want I have a template created for organization, but let's say for this specific instance of organization, which is MetaFacts, I want to have another customization. I want this instance to be an exception. Then what I can do is create something here. Actually, let me create this. I'm gonna say exception. All right. Sure. Yeah.
So you say the drinks, yeah, be on the south side of the city hall. So
Thank you.
And when was that?
six o'clock. So, yeah, half hour to get there. I think if you see me or someone else, I think you're also. I don't know where. Get there.
Okay.
Thank you. There was an announcement for people who are joining in person. Yeah. Okay. So here, if I save this page, I'm saying, so application page will overwrite the default templating of this instance. It means that if I save and view, now I don't see all the customization that is for instances of organization, but I see this application page that I created specifically for this instance. And of course, if I remove it again, by default, and as you see, since I had added this and saved it, it says that this resource does already have a direct corresponding page, and as such, no template will be applied. So by default, it wouldn't pick up a template. But as soon as I remove this, since there is a template for this class exist, it will automatically pick up the templates. Again, we see it here. So this is the main concept of templates and application pages in MetaFactory. Now, maybe we can start talking about the semantic components of MetaFactory. So in the tutorial, I'm not sure if we do. Yeah, actually, we do have something. Let's see if we have an exercise. Maybe we can follow this exercise. Yeah. No, that sounds good. So we can follow this exercise, actually. That's a good idea. So let's say that we want to create a new page. We want to call it project dashboard, I suppose. Yeah. So how we can create it, there are two ways. One way is that we can always go to this gear icon that you see on top and then go to template and application pages and create it here. One way, of course, as I showed you, just go to the instance of the that you wanted, go to edit page and redirect to the template of this organization. This is for templating, the easiest way to create. But for application, we can always go again, gear icon, and then template and application page. And let's say that you can, let me see if the exercise gives. Okay, exercise is talking about another option. But let's say I want to create HTTP example and then .com and then this one. All right, it's validated. I can push to validated, and then it shows me if the IRI that I added, because each application page, of course, should have an identifier, an IRI, and then I can just push the create page and create it. Another option is if I want to add it here, what I can do is simply, after the resource, add the name that I want to add. And if I click on it, I see that it says there is no entity IRI this. So because I haven't created yet any page for this IRI is free. So on the right-hand side on top, you can see this edit page, and you can edit it. And notice that, for example, this edit page, being able to edit or seeing the gear option, all of these are customizable, and they can be based on the role and permission. So you can control who does what in MetaFactory. Let's see what else. So we want to have a very simple page. As well, if we save it, we save this one. Okay, now we want to create a semantic table. So also notice that by default, MetaFactory provides some quick snippets like for layouting. So you can use HTML and CSS, and you can just provide a layout of your page. You can also use the bootstraps, columns and rows, for example. Let me also show you where you can find this documentation. It can be always helpful to read more about it. We have, I think it is HTML, if I find this correctly. Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, exactly, CSS layout. So you have information here. You can just copy and paste them to customize how you want your page to look like. For example, you want to have one thing here in like 4 columns or rows. So these are helpers. But yeah, also, yeah, maybe it's too early to talk about the front end helper, but what we can talk about is semantic components now. So let's say that you want to, the example that we talked about, that you want to create instances of ontology. So we talked about the ontology vocabulary, how to create them. Now about the instantiation, you want to have your customized page to interact with data, meaning you want to allow the user to have a specific form to add data, to edit data, the instances in the ontology, or even to visualize the data. So we have in MetaFactory different semantic components, so to say, that allow you to interact with data via these application pages. So you're using different semantic components in application pages to allow the users to interact with your data. Let's start with a simple one, which is saying that we want to visualize the data that exists in Knowledge Graph as a table. Here, there is an instance that I am gonna copy it in the body of my page. And if I reload, now I am seeing this table. So let's take a look at the code first. So this is the, I hope that the size is not too bad. Maybe this is better. So this is one of the semantic components in MetaFactory. It's a semantic table. It consists of a query So you can query to your knowledge graph, retrieve data, and then you can customize how it should be shown in your table. So the name of the columns, the name of the variable that are retrieved, and also several options for filtration. You can also even create your own customized table, so to say, by creating a template, so to say, and reference it as the result of the semantic table to be shown there. So let's go to another semantic component of MetaFactory. So maybe so far, is there any question? Is there anything that we can go into detail in it?
Look, really.
Okay, great. Okay, then, oh yeah. Let's take a look, yeah. Let me see where I can find it. I think it was on... yes, here. We have them. So we have search component, semantic search. We have a table component. We have graph visualization, which is Ontologies visualization. We have semantic chart. Also, we have semantic query, semantic query. So not all of them are necessarily visualizing something, but some of them are querying against the knowledge graph, retrieving data, and then you can connect another semantic component to them, so to say. Also, maybe I will go through another semantic component and then I will jump into a bit the event thing that we have in MetaFactory. I think now that we have time, why not? Let's use it.
Is it all viewing or also editing?
It's also for editing. So for now, data table was just showing the values. It was visualizing, but we also can use semantic form. This is for interacting with the data. Yeah.
Can you get your last?
No. You can just, but you can create your own template for visualization, and with that you can play around. Yeah. Okay. I think we also have semantic chart. We can. Let's see this one. Again, even. Let's see. I think I need a bit to change the layout, but let's look how it looks like. So now I'm copying a snippet for semantic chart. Again, in all of these semantic components, we have this query. It means that it's retrieving data from the knowledge graph and then providing it this time as a chart. Let's see if it looks good or we need some customization. No, it's good. So here now I see the projects by skills. And of course, what I'm seeing here is based on my query. So I can change what needs to be visualized or plotted here based on the query. What we can do, in fact, the example that we had for the vocabulary, that we restricted one class that we created for with vocabulary, and now we can create one semantic form for that, and say that how user can only add values from that vocabulary, let's say. So very on fly. Let's create another page maybe. I'm gonna call it this time project instance. Creation. So I see that this is not created. That's good. I'm gonna use some configuration wizards that we have. I first used one of the default layouts for the page, and then say, now I want to create. So some cool things and easy to use things that Factory offers is that you have this configuration wizard. Let's say I want to create one form. So these components are model driven. So you can simply say, I want to create a form, create a new configuration, and then choose what classes and properties from the ontologies you want to use to create this form, so to say. Let's say I want the skill, and here you can choose from what ontology. Now I'm choosing from, let's say from project maybe, or let's go for everything. And when I'm moving my cursor on this class, so in case I have more than one class with the same name, I can see which ontology this one belongs to. So I want this one from this ontology, I chose that one. Then I want project. Again, it's from both. Good. Then let's say I want also company. An organization. So called for the organization. There, as you see, there are two organizations. I check it. This is both, and the other one is core organization. I want the both one. Okay, let's say I want these. Generate markup. Automatic. So this would be. So it's actually, so this is gonna be this. But let's say, actually, I just want to create for now for the skill. So I'm gonna choose this one. And here, basically, I can choose for what I want to create. Use only elements specified, or use all the attributes and relation. Let's say I want to choose a specific thing, or I want everything to be created. Well, these are the configuration. So this is an example. I created by configuration wizard. I didn't go through any customization, but what I can do, this is completely model driven. Says that semantic form, by the way, as soon as you move your cursor to any of these semantic forms in the code, you can see the documentation page. So in this case, if I redirect, I can see the documentation page about the semantic forms. And you see a lot of examples here, actually. The components, each of the elements of these components are explained. What is the subject, for instance, here? What is for class? As we see it here, it is used. And ordering, hiding, overriding fields. And we can see also the customization. If I go to bottom of the page, I see a lot of examples here. How you can order the list with index. So you can basically copy and paste and see these examples as well. And as you see, what we created here is just using the model-driven one, meaning that I said create one semantic form for this class, skill of the ontology. And then for subject or template, I've added this one. It is automatically added, basically, but I can define what should be added. I can modify this, but what subject does is that subject create an instance of this class, skill. And if this class had more attributes or property, it will show here. Let's pick another class which has more create new configuration. I think I can go with core organization. I'm trying to see one of the classes that has more attributes to choose those so you can see how it looks like. Organization of core. Yeah, let's pick that one. So if I go to this one, exactly, we see that it has a lot of attributes. And now let's see how it will look like. If I save and view it, this will how it looks like. So in my semantic form, I didn't add much value. I just said drive it from model a form for this class. So by default, I gave an IRI that each instance of this class organization will be created by that prefix example and UUID as an unique identifier. And all the attributes are automatically fetched from the model. So all the basically attributes can be added by the user and then they can be saved. Now, one thing that I just remembered that I forgot to mention in the previous session for the ontology, I wanted to do it after break, I totally forgot. It's about validating the data and the database and the ontology. So let's say that we have created some instances for the data and we want to validate them against the ontology that we have. Let's quickly check how it looks like. Okay. As you remember again, if we go to instances of organization FOF, we have two values, right? We can edit them and everything. Now let's say we go and change some restriction or cardinality restriction in for this organization class. Actually, is it on development? Okay, now we can edit it, good. Switch to edit mode, organization. Let's say I create an attribute from the existing one, label, let's say. Let's say label. And now let's say that I want this label to be a mandatory attribute. How I can do it? I can do it with cardinality, minimum value to be 1, let's say. I can add also maximum, but it doesn't matter. So it means that at least every instance of organization that has been created should have at least one label value, a label attribute. Now if I save it, and save the ontology, what happens is that in the shackle shape has been created in this ontology now, with to have the basically minimum cardinality 1, right? So if I have two organization without, actually I think label already exists. Let me just go for something else that doesn't have necessarily comment. Exactly. First, now I will go to the ontology catalog again. I'm going to publish this. Publish it. Now, what I can do is if I go back, as you see, I cannot see the edit anymore. What I can see is more. And here I can validate database, in fact. If I go to the validation report, I see that I have some failed values. What it says is that I have values that they are not meeting the cardinality restriction. Why? Because I had created previously 2 instances of this class that were not meeting this new criteria or the new restriction that I added to the ontology. So now I introduce intentionally some inconsistency. Of course, either the data should be removed or modified, or the ontology should be modified. So these are the instances that you can check if you have some development in the ontology, and if there is any inconsistency based on the new updated ontology in your previously created data. So you can just check them here easily. Yes, so this was one note. Maybe back to our, and this is how semantic form looks like, so to say. I don't have the instance, so in this tutorial and in these instances that you have, you wouldn't have, let me check quickly. Yeah, this is the end, so we don't have any explanation about the event. But since we have time, I want to quickly go through a bit more complicated thing about the application page creation and introduce you about the events components in MetaFactory. We can do it from here. So MetaFactory provides basically a way that you can, of course, you have different components and you can use all of these components in your application pages. Now, let's say that I want to trigger specific components. Let's say this chart that I was showing here, with clicking on specific link on the table. So what we can do, it's easy in MetaFactory because you can set that after clicking on this item on my semantic table, trigger an event which is basically targeting this creation of this chart. So for that sense, basically we have this event system, so to say, that you have one trigger and you have target. And if I want to show you an example of how you can code it. Yes, exactly. Exactly. So let's say I have something here. As soon as I click on this one, what will be shown is the last update time. So I click on this, not only the table will be shown, but also the last update of the time will be shown. So here I used basically the triggering and the targeting of the event system of MetaFactory. What I'm doing is mainly this one. Oh, sorry. Where did I go? Here. Yes. So I'm saying that on the event source of this table, the type of the event that we generated, or the type of the target is that update the template, so to say. And then I'm giving the ID of it, ID of the target. So I have one source and one target. The source here is the table as soon as I'm doing this, and the target is basically updating this template, which gives me the actual time, so to say. Let me see if we have, yes, exactly. We can also combine more than one event at the same time, let's say. Let me see. Yes, here we are triggering more than one event. It is also possible to say as soon as you're pushing this, do two things. There are some For events systems, we have two types, I would say. One is there are some predefined actions that you can just set them. For example, updating a template, or we can have we can define them, saying that as soon as this let's say a form is uploaded, saved, then execute a specific query against a specific repository, for example. In this case, I'm defining exactly what should we do. This is not a default rendering, so to say. Unfortunately, we were not supposed to have these examples, so we don't have them in the instance. But again, you can always access all this documentation from here. You can see the examples. And of course, if you have any questions. Yeah. I think I covered more or less everything I wanted to say. Oh, I remembered one thing left. So as you see here, we just talked about the template. We also have this knowledge panel template. Again, if you remember, what we have in the knowledge panel is, if we go to any instance, so to say, or this one exactly. Here, this is the knowledge panel. If we go to the graph visualization, and then let's say we want the organization, go into instances, and then here, again, this eye is always opening this quick overview of metadata, which we call it the knowledge panel, so to say. This knowledge panel can also be configured and customized via this one. So you see here, the knowledge panel template that this page uses is the resource one. But if I create a knowledge panel, let's say for organization, then as soon as I go to an instance of organization and click on one instance, the knowledge panel of that organization will be open, so to say. So this is also accessible easily through if you edit an instance, edit page, and then knowledge panel, similar to the template that is existing. Yeah, I think I stopped with more explanation because it might be a bit more complicated, also material at the same time. But if there is any question, we can maybe review those questions. Exactly. I mean, simply even so these are defaults, right? What I'm showing. Of course, everything can be customized. But even from here, I can even expand everything here, let's say, right? And then from each of these, I can go to others. And then from there, let's say I set organization, all the instances of organization, I went to a specific one, then I see that this organization is based near to this city, and okay, it's kind of dead end, but let's go for something else. Exactly, so here. Of course, I selected everything now. I didn't have to, in fact. And also you can just close it as well. So you can choose. So it says that this joined with this one. And then, of course, you see other instances. And then I have publication. I can say, okay, I want to know which is the domain of the publication. It's already person. I think it's open somewhere here. So this is a way, basically, you can choose. You can start from nothing, so to say. I can even reload. I go with the empty one. And then I can just choose one at a time, or I can expand everything and just go one step at a time. So this is the default one, but exactly. So there is a component of graph visualization. So based on that, you can say what to be visualized. You can give the query, you can give the RDF data to load, and yeah, you can customize the exploration of your knowledge graph in this way.
And also for using the normal templates. So if you want templates to show for these validations, if it's a new template or because already says
So what you're saying is that having a form, and then one form is for specific attributes.
for organization, for instance.
Uh-huh.
Then you click on the related or related employees.
Uh-huh. And then pop-ups another form.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. So let's say you can have one form, and then I don't know, some links or something, and then if you're pushing that one, small pop-ups even comes with a form. You add that, save it, and then without even redirecting to another page, you can do everything even in that form with pop-ups, so to say. You can also do that. Yeah, exactly. This is also possible.
Maybe used for ontologies, vocabularies, or also
For instance data. Yeah. So the mostly application pages and template pages are for manipulating the data, for interacting with data. So ontology and vocabularies are for modeling the data, and of course, some customers are also customizing ontology editor, for example, that we saw, the ontology catalog. Let's say we have customers that they don't want to save it by default to Git. They want to have their specific requirement for Git, and they don't want user to be able to specify where to save it. So we are even removing that. We are not allowing the user to see that saved to Git, and by default, we customize to be saved at certain place. But in general, ontology and vocabulary platforms are supposed to be more or less customizable, but it's still for management of the modeling. But then data manipulation and data interaction is mainly something that user needs to, shouldn't be defined for the end user, so to say. Yeah. And so application pages mainly focusing for interacting with the data. Yeah. And again, you can have different roles. You can have application page for certain classes or whatever, for certain data, for certain named graph even, certain repositories. And then you can still, inside the application page, define that if the user has this role, show this. If their user is, so all of this, yeah.
there's most of the functionality you see in the editor also, and use with templates, forms.
Exactly. So even in the ontology editor, for instantiation, exactly, we're using form. This is a default. Actually, we also have instance visual instance authoring, which is instead of using form to use graph. So again, in the documentation, if you're interested to know, exactly, it is explained here. I don't think we have visualization here, but yeah, these are the examples. So we have the code, and then you can say, I want to create a new task. So this is a class probably in an ontology, and instead of receiving the data from the form, we are doing it here. I'll say I want to create, or even, I think we can even drag and drop it. I think we have clicked the drag and drop here, but yeah. And then I confirm it, and even I connected this one to this one, apply. So in this way, visually I'm creating instances, not ontology, so to say.
For the templates, you still need some scripting knowledge, I guess.
So Metafactory is low code. It is based on having low code. So as I showed you in this page, if we go back, I think I created the one for the form. It was exactly this one.
Yeah.
Yes. So here, this is all that I added actually with Wizard. But if you want to really customize every single field in that form, yes, you can add it here. Of course, you can add here, in fact. If you add fields, you see it's suggests to you, and then you can define your fields even with ID, etc., name, and everything. You can define each of the fields. Let's say you have, I don't know, 10 attributes. Here in this case, we have many attributes, but you don't want all the attributes to be shown for the instantiation. You just want to show 5 of them. Then you can choose here. So it's no code after all, but of course, if you have certain even customization for layouts and everything, you can just simply use more and more CSS and yeah. Let's say if you're not an expert in front end, you don't need to, you wouldn't have any problem. You don't need to have a lot of information about CSS or HTML. You can just create based on the components. You don't need much knowledge on that.
Yeah, Ontologies. So you said that maybe shipping or cost. How much are still?
So OWL is mainly for the basic things that you don't want to have constraints on top, so to say. But for the rest, it is shackle. Again, I think this is a good example to check here that we can see these are the shapes. But of course, you have, for example, the equivalence class, because after all, you want to also allow for reasoning. Yeah. So for reasoning, you need OWL, of course. And some RDFS as well, because this is actually imported, and that's why. But let's say we created one ontology ourselves inside the Meta Factory. So the properties are all with the shackle, but of course labels, RDFS, yeah. Mainly the classes and the definition of ontologies are in OWL. But actually we do have the equivalent, if I can find this quickly for you. I have to remember what was the name of the documentation, but we do have the exactly ontology transformation. So we have these configuration for transforming from OWL to shackle, from shackle to OWL. Yeah. And also when you're importing, that's a good point that you ask. So when you're importing an ontology, and let's say it is without any shackle shape in it, you can choose if you want to create the shackle shapes or transform the OWL properties, domain and range, to shackle or not, so to say. You can say, no, keep it, enrich it, augment the original ontology and add those, or no, transform it completely. So you have these options. You can choose in which way you want to import. Yeah.
And it's for shacks.
Shacks. I'm not sure, but I think for now, I'm not sure actually. We had some discussion on shacks, but I think for now it's a shack. But
can they be versioned?
Versioned. So at the moment, the versioning is only for ontology, not vocabularies in general. What you can do for versioning is at the moment at the level of Git for vocabularies.
We do collections of concepts and they evolve over time.
Yeah.
So medications get added or medications.
Yeah. But I'm expecting to have it possibly. I'm not sure for the future. But this might be possible. Also, it might be possible to customize. As I mentioned, this ontology versioning is very new concept at the moment. So we've been working on it for months. But also, we made this customization for a customer even prior to having this ontology versioning anyway. So I would say it is customizable. Of course, it would be a bit complex, but yeah, it is possible to do it.
Collections are collections of concepts.
Exactly, concepts.
Yeah. Collections can have an RRI.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's also
Collection, let's say, the preferred. Let's say that this is basically what is created for this collection.
Can you control?
Yes, you can. Yes, yeah. You can define what should be the prefix of this IRIs as well. Yeah, exactly. And here you can choose what should be the members of this collection.
How many blocks?
So that's also a good question. So at the moment you see most of these named graphs are uploaded, these data. That's why you see this file playing. But because you can also upload named graph, you can also create named graph, and you can also, when you're interacting with data, let's say you are creating a form for instantiation of certain class, you can define what should be the named graph that this should be stored in. So you can choose even elements of same ontology to be stored in different named graph. And it's possible to define the named graph in semantic form. Actually, these are the customization that I was mentioning. If you want to go by default, this is just 2-line, you just use the wizard, but you have, if we go back to the documentation. Exactly. So these are the elements you can define yourself. And constraints, more constraints. Persistence mode, exactly. This is what I was looking for. So here, I can configure it in this way. I think.
Look words.
Yes. This is what I can just add to my. So I can add it to my semantic form that always the insert graph to be this one. I can define the named graph. I can even define named graph for each field. So if I show you more options of semantic form, it is smaller, it's better. So I can choose what to be if I'm adding if as a user add a specific value to a field, what should be exactly inserted into the name graph. So with this insert pattern, I can say not necessarily always that field. So that field by default, if you just use the automatic configuration, it's going to add that field as the attribute or the relation that belongs to that class, instance of the class. But I can even say that not only I want to add it as the attribute of my class, I want to also add these 2-3 more triples, so to say. Sometimes you want to add some values without the user to be true. For user, choose one value, and you want that value to use that value to create 3 more triples. You can do it in this insert pattern. You can also define auto-suggestion pattern. So the user can have, basically when they're typing, they have suggestion to pick up values. You can have value set pattern, meaning the values that are already chosen to be shown. Also, you can choose if your field to be text input, if to be drop down, selecting values from existing vocabularies, for example. Let's say skill we put vocabulary as constraint for that. So I can add a drop down for the field and then retrieve the specific vocabularies, so user can choose only those. So they
only discuss that in this collection.
No, any term, even if there is no, yeah, exactly. If there is no collection even, and there is just a term in the vocabulary, either collection or term, so to say. Yeah, exactly. So the point is that semantic form has a lot of possibilities. You have to configure and customize them yourself. If you can also go without customization and use the model-driven simple 2-line code, so to say. So it really depends on what you want to do. Yeah, we even have, you can even validate the data prior to saving it. So there are lots of possibilities here. And this min-max is also something that, let's say you're not using model-driven automatic generation, you are defining it, and then you can say, so you are basically making this form independent of the actual model. So you want to customize it yourself. So you say that, oh, I want this description to be mean and to have the cardinality restriction. Although conceptually it should follow the ontology, but let's say another person is part of and responsible for ontology, and you're doing the thing, so you can do your thing, and they can, you know, and of course at the end they can be validated against the ontology.
The ontology says 1 star. You could say 1 to 5, but you couldn't say 0 to strike. Can you contradict?
So
what the ontology specifies as cardinality?
You shouldn't, right? Yeah. but so if you're using the default configuration of semantic form, it will drive it. It will fetch everything in the ontology, so it wouldn't contradict. It will not allow user to create. But let's say a knowledge engineer wants to create a form that contradicts the ontology with using these, and they added it, and then they. But at the end of the day, even those values that are created, they can be validated against the database, and so, oh, there is some problem. So the point is that, let's say my colleague next to me is working on ontology. I'm working on this. We are agreeing that this should be updated. But that colleague is sick for a week, and I have to develop my application, right? So I can do it, and they can do it in the same time. Yeah. Yeah.
You mentioned what thing is safe. Once you have a data set, it's of course in good form, very, but
also persisted in thinking or
No, not data. So data are stored in database repositories, ontologies and vocabularies, and not by default. You can save them yourself, push them, but you can also customize. Again, we have a customer who are customizing that automatically everything that user creates is saved. Yeah. Even for example, here Semantic for composite input, it allows you to what you were mentioning by drop down. So we can have a field that has I don't have a quick example of that, but you can push the button for that field and even pops up a new for. And let's say that you want to connect to instance of class skill to instance of class person. You're in the form of class skill, you're filling the fields, but then when you reach to the person to choose the person who has this skill, so to say, you remember that you haven't created your person form. What you can do is having this option that pushing a button and person semantic form pops up, you add it at the same time, saving it, and then you're going basically in the same page, so to say. This is how composites input can work.
so it's automated system.
Exactly.
But it's supported by RTF. I would call it out and not RTF. At the top.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, true. I mean, you're creating. I don't know about this specific term that you're mentioning, actually, but yeah. Yeah.
It's a category of software which enables users to create quickly web applications.
Exactly. Yeah.
Store content.
Yeah.
But typically, these applications are not really sophisticated things like RDF.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah, exactly. It's based on RDF, of course, everything. Yeah.
More selection. Drop your images, for instance. You create your form, you create your data elements, and create workflows of forms, but this will not be related to RDF, which is not the key data here.
Yeah.
Things like images, for instance, or
like thumbnail, you mean?
Yeah, so is there a place to also store those and
yeah, actually you can upload thumbnails, and then even in your graph visualization, you can say my nodes not to be just a circle or a rectangle or whatever. Show me the thumbnail of this person, for example. You can do that. Yeah, I mean, you can also build APIs, so to say, even. So we didn't go that much into Sporkle, but you can have a Sporkle. You can also save your Sporkle, in fact. So here I can execute something, but I can also save it. And even I can define arguments in the sense that I can later create API on that.
So what you say to the API, you use Sporkle in points.
Yes.
Sometimes API is my code. By not only REST
or REST API, yeah.
But they also some CMS systems. They also have an API programmer. How should I call it? We call it also API, which provides some interfaces, some classes that you're adding practical and extend the functionality already provided by the CMS.
That's basically
my own modules, my own.
Now,
how people you asked how could we extend the components that they relate, or if it would be our own components, some graphical user interface that is not yet there.
Yeah, it would be nice if we could add our own components.
I think we can to some extent. To some extent, because I'm not precisely sure in what use case we can and what use case we can't, but we can already. For example, let's say I have an API that checks for language. If this things that someone is typing in the field is a specific language, like it is English or not, if it is Dutch or not, I can connect that API that already exists with my form.
Yeah, because one thing that you do a lot is you create corrections, version corrections, value sets, and then you now need to create a new one, and you want to be able to different.
Oh, that's yeah.
And if you could create one of those little type things,
Yeah.
then we could attribute it, but also, but only with this type of
Actually, this is even possible. This is even possible at the moment with some customization of application, with application writing. What we are doing is, at the moment for ontology, we are doing this. So we are creating this div, exactly, because Metafactory provides you with the div of Git. So it fetches everything from the div of the Git. We are using that, plus we are writing our own queries for a customer. We are doing this customization. That's with queries, we are differentiating what are the classes that is in this one and not in the other one, and as simple as that, and providing everything in table. And this is actually at the moment in our development tickets that are working on having this default, this div as a default out of the box feature as well. And for vocabularies, I think that's also possible. We can have this application customized, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I didn't go through a lot of things, but maybe one other also simple thing that we can, there are also some default okay, I don't have permission here, can I show it? But yeah, so configuration and UI. For instance, Metafactory picks up by default the RDFS label, or description. So if you have it on the ontology, you can just, that's why it is low code. So you don't have to exactly write the triple to retrieve the label. You can just say label and it will retrieve by default. But also you can customize it, saying not just RDFS label, but I want, for example, pref label, SCOS pref label to also be picked up. So you can, I cannot show it right now. I don't have permission, but in system settings, UI configuration, you can configure these as well. Or let's say I have an instance of organization and company, and both of them have template. So I can define it here again, which one to be picked up. Is prioritization. Yeah, so thanks a lot. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you everyone that joined online as well. Sorry about, we didn't use microphone much, but I hope that you could grasp the questions as well. Thank you and have a good evening.